Hey everyone, it's Ben Hardy here, and in today's video, we're going to be talking about the fact that the new GMC Sierra Denali Ultimate has been canceled. Before getting to the video though, first and foremost, as always, if you're going to save time and money the next time you purchase a car, link to my car buying guide in the description down below. Let's get into it. So over the last couple months, you guys have probably noticed there's been a ton of reviews posted on the new GMC Sierra 1500 Denali Ultimate. Reviews praising this as an amazing luxury truck, reviewing the new Super Cruise system, talking about how it's so cool and so futuristic. But guess what? You can't order the truck, and we don't know when ordering is actually going to open. And I found that this is something that nobody is talking about. Everyone's talking about how great this truck is and how you should go into a local GMC dealership and order it. But guess what? If you go into a local GMC dealership and try to order it, you'll find out that you can't. The best that a GMC dealership can do for you at this point is basically put your name on a list. Maybe they'll take a deposit. That's what a lot of dealerships tend to do, even on cars that they can't order, so that they can kind of get a more firm commitment out of you. But yeah, that's what you'll find, is that you can't actually go in and spec out a Denali Ultimate and put a order in for it. And this kind of shows a deeper problem that I talked about in a prior video, but well, now we're going to talk about it in today's video as well. I already made a video where I kind of dove in pretty deep in terms of the issues that GM is currently having. So just to quickly touch base on that, and I'd recommend just go and watch that video. I just posted it a few days ago on this channel talking about GM's issues with producing vehicles. But basically, there's a bunch of supply chain issues, right, that every manufacturer is dealing with, including GM. GM seems to be really struggling with these supply chain issues, more so than other manufacturers. And then on top of that, GM has had tons of issues with quality control recently. But again, this isn't just a GM thing. This is happening to every single manufacturer, like I mentioned in the prior video. But again, it's something that GM is struggling with. So basically, vehicles are not being put together exactly how they should be, or parts that are being put into these vehicles aren't exactly up to what they should be from a quality perspective. And then there has been some inherent engineering issues with GM's current lineup, where things just aren't built out to be as reliable as they should be, especially with all of the new technology that they contain. And this all relates to the Denali Ultimate, because guess what? The Denali Ultimate is like the pinnacle of GM engineering. Well, I guess the Hummer EV is technically the pinnacle because it's their new crazy futuristic EV truck, but the Denali Ultimate is, I guess, a close second, because it is GM's most luxurious truck that they have on the market. So it has their, nicest interior. It's got their new digital gauge cluster, heads-up display, bigger infotainment system. It's got a full panoramic sunroof. It has their new Super Cruise system. Like I said, it has all of their latest technology, which again relates to all of the issues that GM is having. They can't produce vehicles, so they definitely can't produce a crazy techie vehicle like that right now. So if we go into the first set of issues that I mentioned in the prior video with supply chain issues, GM is struggling to get supplies for vehicles. And so that means that they're especially struggling to get supplies for vehicles that contain a ton of different options and equipment. Think about how many microchips, for example, a Denali Ultimate is going to have, with the fact that it has a panoramic sunroof, a big infotainment system, a digital gauge cluster, Super Cruise, right? That is a crazy technical thing for a vehicle to be able to fully self-drive. That's going to contain a ton of microchips. And then, just like other modern vehicles, a lot of stuff under the hood is controlled via computers, which means that there's tons of microchips needed for that. And the list goes on and on and on. And so with GM having such a short supply of things like microchips, they're going to want to build as many vehicles as possible. So that means that they're not going to build the crazy top-line vehicles. They're going to build the lower-down packages that don't require as many supplies and as many microchips. So that's the first reason why the Denali Denali Ultimate rather has effectively been canceled. The next thing is quality control. So the Denali Ultimate is going to be sold to a different customer than like a base model GMC Sierra, and GMC knows this, right? So what that means is that it has to be of a certain quality because of how much money people are spending on it. And so I think that what GM is doing is they are pretty much being proactive in terms of pulling back with their more advanced, newer, crazier, high-end vehicles before they release them basically to people that would complain a massive amount if there were issues with them. Yes, people with lower priced vehicles from GM are still going to complain, but it's kind of a different argument when someone's complaining about a $20,000 vehicle having issues versus an $80 to $90 to $100,000 vehicle having issues. Hopefully that makes sense. So I think that GM's going to go in and focus on fixing these quality control issues before they release this flagship product for their brand. And then the next thing, right, is inherent engineering issues. And this is something, like I said, that GM has been struggling with for quite some time, right? From their powertrains to a lot of the newer techier bits that they're adding to their vehicles. And again, the Denali Ultimate is no different. This is basically GM's techiest vehicle minus the Hummer EV, which obviously has more tech because it's an EV. But besides that, it's GM's techiest vehicle because, again, it's got this crazy modern, and I know parts of the engine, right, aren't necessarily the most modern advanced, but there's a lot of tech under that hood to make it so the engine performs at the rate that it does and gets the fuel economy that it does. And then, like I said, it's got a bunch of interior luxury features, massaging seats, panoramic sunroof, tons of screens, right? All of these luxury features. So as I was saying, this new Sierra Denali Ultimate has all of these techie bits that have so many different moving parts within them, and GM is having some issues with these crazy techie bits. Now, I haven't heard too much in terms of the new infotainment system and the new gauge cluster, but there has been a ton of heat on GM's cruise control system, and not just this new Super Cruise system, right? Because that hasn't even been released to the public. I'm talking about just the regular cruise control system, the regular adaptive cruise control system. Again, in the previous video, I basically showed you guys with the AT4X how it had cruise control that just didn't work. And this is affecting a lot of vehicles. And so it probably makes sense that GM isn't going to go and release a vehicle with a feature that's even more advanced than this basic feature that they seem to be struggling with from, again, an engineering standpoint. And so that's another thing that's pushing back this Denali Ultimate is they've got to figure out this cruise control situation. And so it's kind of confusing because, again, you're probably seeing all these videos online of people testing out the new Denali Ultimate and driving it with Super Cruise, and the system works and everything seems fine. But there's a big difference between making it so a system works in just a vehicle, right, versus making sure a system works in a mass-produced vehicle, and that is where the struggle comes in. And this is something that, you know, people outside the automotive industry don't necessarily understand. Is it's pretty easy to make like a prototype or, you know, a number of prototypes that have fully functioning features and are relatively reliable. The struggle comes in when it comes to mass producing those things, because then, right, just with the scale of things, things get pretty crazy and quality control becomes a lot more difficult. And it seems like that's what GM is struggling with, because they keep releasing these new vehicles with prototypes that seem to be amazing, right? Like I said, all the features work and everything seems to like mesh together beautifully. But then when they try to put that into practice in terms of producing it at a reasonably high quantity, that's where things kind of fall apart. And ultimately, there's just so many different moving pieces. Producing cars is extremely complex because in today's world, it's not like it's just like one factory that is, you know, producing everything, putting it all together and then releasing it to the public. It's like there are tons of factories, you know, with most cars that are produced nowadays, because they're produced with parts from all over the world, tons of factories producing tons of different parts, shipping it all across the world, and then it being put into multiple different factories that then will ship that off to other different factories to then slowly put things together. And next thing you know, after this like whole crazy sequence of events, then you have a vehicle being produced. So like I said, it's pretty complex nowadays. And again, GM is struggling with this. So here's the deal. The GMC Sierra Denali Ultimate sounds like an amazing truck that is seriously going to compete with the Ram Limited and the Ford F-150 Limited. And frankly, I think that it is, you know, once it hits the market, it's going to be the option to go for over those two trucks, because it's got the big 6.2 liter V8 that everyone loves, despite, you know, some of the apparent issues that the engine is having. An extremely nice, luxurious interior, tons of techie bits, again, self-driving as well. Like it has everything that you'd want out of a luxury truck. Again, massaging seats too, for goodness sakes. Like it has everything. So on paper, this truck is absolutely amazing, but, you know, again, producing it seems to be a massive struggle. And so time will tell in terms of how long it'll take GM to figure out this issue. But I guess I wouldn't get too excited about the Denali Ultimate right now, because you just can't get one. You can get a regular Denali. So there's two different packages. I think it's, I I might be wrong on the packages, but there's one that's called like the Preferred, and then the other one is called like the Premium. Again, I might be wrong on the names, but you can get those right now. So you can still get a Denali, you just can't get the Bad Boy Ultimate at this point. And so, you know, obviously as soon as it's available, then I will let you guys know, but I wouldn't be surprised if GM basically makes the Denali Ultimate a 2023 or maybe even a 2024 potentially, until they can get everything figured out. We'll see what happens. Anyways, let me know what you guys think about this whole situation with the Denali Ultimate. If you were hoping to get one and now realize that you won't be able to get one, or you know what you're going to do in place now that you can't go in and order one. And with that being said, I'll see you.